And we are back here at the Vanguard playoffs. We are at the round of 8. This is our second best of 5 of tonight, as Alceister brags as he does, as he was doing in the chat before the game, as he is doing now. He is letting his opponent know who he is, or at least telling him that he will find out who he is. But up here on the top right-hand side of the map, we have the Teal Terran, who doesn't seem to care about that. It is our German Terran player. He is noMADe. And his opponent, who is still talking, it is from Dust Gaming, that little devil blowing dust. Doesn't really make sense to me. I think it stands for something. I don't know. It is our red Terran player. He is Alceister. And he's certainly talking the talk right now. We're going to see if he can walk it, as well as two SCVs pass each other there. noMADe was scouting around, making sure that there's no proxy, which is often the thing. If someone is very talkative early in the game, it can lead you to believe that there will be a proxy coming out. The SCV for Alceister is going to get in there to see the first Marine come out, start shooting at it. The SCV coming in on the other side, we'll see 2 Marines already down for Alceister as the SCV does die. Stutter stepping, takes 1 shot on that Marine, taking away 5 hit points from him. Good work, SCV, for doing that. Both of them are getting the factories down. noMADE's is almost done. And an add-on coming to Alceister here at the wall. Going right up to Starport is noMADE, and he is working on his second gas now, has been collecting for a while. So he may be going directly into something like Cloak Banshee, or going directly into a really quick drop. But let's see, it is Tech Lab coming down, so it should be the Cloak Banshee as that option, as usually you'd see a reactor by then if it was going to be the other. Tech Lab also coming down on a factory on Alceister's side. The Starport is a little bit later for him, but he may be still doing that little swap out, as we see noMADE going for there now. And I expect the Banshee to start right away, and it certainly does. He does not, however, have enough for the cloak, and maybe deciding to skip that as he didn't have the amount saved up. Usually you would tend to start them around the same time if that was in fact your plan, so it may not be. We've got a tank coming out for Alceister and a medevac, so he is not in fact going for one of his own. A few Marines moving on down to the low ground here. And yeah, definitely no cloak being added on, as he does have the money for it now and is still opting not to go ahead and do that. 6 Marines coming out to take control of these watchtowers, and Marine will be picked off there as he goes to clear out the second as well. And it looks like Alceister may just be going for a fairly early push into this. The medevac actually picking up and bringing the tank forward. The Banshee coming in behind does kind of see this whole thing coming through, but because it's in the medevac, he won't actually see the tank. He may know that there should be one, but doesn't actually see it. The medevac still carrying that as they come into the base. It will get into position to siege up here on the low ground. Marines will fire a tank coming out for noMADE. Will be up on the high ground here, and he may not be able to really control this yet. With the Viking, he could chase away the medevac. However, for a little bit, will be in dispute. The Banshee kind of was sitting around not really doing much. Unfortunately here, it's actually going to be pulled back as opposed to going in and attacking on Alceister's base, which is an interesting decision here. He could pick off this tank, does. The Banshee has to pull away though here now after taking a few more shots, and will pull back out. He's actually going to chase that down with the medevac, which is a great thing to be doing here. We'll pick that off as well. and it kind of cancels out. There is definitely an opportunity there for noMADe to do a lot with the Banshee during that whole push, as there was not really a lot back at home that Alceister had to deal with it. But now there is a missile turret down, there's a widow mine down, and a little more that's going to be able to deal with the Banshee should it come out. He's actually making a Raven as well in case he needs to deal with the cloak. So it may have been cost effective just to get the single Banshee without cloak, in that it's provoked this type of response here out of Alceister, at least. So that can definitely work out to his benefit. He is now looking to make a command center on the low ground. We have a drop in the back of noMADE's base here. SCVs have been pulled as the very spread out Marines move in, trying to get some more SCV kills off here. The army of noMADE moving back into position as this kind of all stutter steps away. Marines coming in, not supported by a medevac of their own, but they are supported by a tank, which will now siege up in the back lines and force the pickup here. There are 2 tanks that are sieged up and kind of defenseless, but Alceister actually turned away from that, I think expecting maybe something to be on that low ground there. So a little bit of a missed opportunity in that he didn't get to see 2 fairly exposed tanks that could have probably been dropped on to some cost beneficial degree. Adding on more barracks is Alceister as he gets scanned to see what the timing of the expansion is. And as noMADE's lands, Alceister's is finished. Both will start mining around the same time out of that base, although one has the orbital, the other not quite yet. But relatively even footing for the 2 of them. Actually, both of them still on a lot lower SCV count than you might expect at this point, given that they haven't taken a lot of damage, just light harassment. We have 31 on noMADE's side compared to 26 for Alceister, but that will shoot up, obviously, as both naturals have now been taken. And we get double mules dropping here as well. Medevacs are picking up a tank and a bunch of Marines, 12 Marines here looking to go for another drop. There's not really the same static defense on noMADE's side of things. However, he does have 1 tank in a fairly strong position here to cover most of the area that you would tend to drop in. He's got a few Marines rallied around that he actually pulled back from his rally to look for drops, I would presume, here and support that tank. Unsieging a lot and now pulling back into the is he going for his own drop or pulling back into the main as Alceister's drop comes in here now as the first tank comes out. The siege tank in the middle there will start shelling down, does divert some of the drop to kill that tank, drops the unsieged one, which is quite good in cleaning that up. The medevac does still exist. It is still alive. A lone Marine looked like he was going to move to intercept that, but the medevac, which could have quite easily died, does make his way on out here. Both of them at very even supply. A little bit of a economic lead on noMADE's side, just in terms of 7 workers or so there. And that last drop was actually quite well defended. Getting a few more Vikings out is noMADE at this point. The upgrade advantage, however, is definitely in Alceister's favor at the moment. He has stim done, he has +1 done, whereas that is not yet completed, although stim is finishing up in just about 5 seconds. There it goes on noMADE's side of things. So they will pull into relative evenness, and they're +1 on the armor, or sorry, on the +1 shields, or not +1 shields, the combat shields is underway for both, and +1 armor is almost done for Alceister here, but will probably not be done before a fight if it happens really soon. A little stim out of a small group of Alceister's army as this army of noMADE kind of walks in to no man's land, unfortunately to a place where it may be completely flanked. He tries to siege up here now. A group of Marines coming in from behind, though, sandwiching this entire thing, and cleans up that entire army quite cost effectively here. And this may be an opportunity for him to actually move out after having reset that portion of the tank count. Here there are only 2 tanks out for noMADe compared to the 5 for Alceister, which is not the type of position you want to be in as a Terran player. Playing another Terran player, the tank count can be very, very decisive there, so just an unfortunate position for noMADe to have walked into. Third base is now completed for noMADe, whereas there is not obviously one yet. For Alceister, it doesn't look like he is building or coming close to expanding to one just yet, but the army is moving into position to potentially look at that third base as an attack point here. noMADe's army has sieged up in that position to try and cut this off. A medevac will come forward, potentially even trying to bait things in, but noMADe wisely looks like he's put his Marines on hold position, at least for the time being. And a little bit of a Viking fight here. Oh, baiting in that group of Marines into a little bit of fire. One of these medevacs very, very low. A Viking fairly low on both sides as they try and control this space here. Able to shell down on that one tank. It is not yet going to unsiege itself and will be just taken out for free there, given the vision of the Vikings. And even this Bioforce has to move back. But a drop coming down in the main base. Marines trying to split around things to come after what are fairly exposed tanks and take them out, as it was just a couple medevacs. Marines will clear this up and secure the base. I don't think there was a ton lost there other than maybe that refinery itself. Overall kills in this game, worker-wise, 11 have been killed throughout all these harassments by Alceister, compared to only 1 from noMADe. However, it's cost a lot. There's been at least like 3 tanks in these harassments and probably 12 or more Marines that have come along with it. So it has been a little bit of a spend in order to get those units, and the worker count is obviously still in noMADe's favor, as is just the overall economy here. A little drop coming down, more of a push into the third base, as another drop into the main coming for Alceister. He will actually siege up 3 tanks now, making this a lot more formidable force here as he goes after some of the infrastructure. That drop at the third does get cleaned up basically immediately as it moves into 2 tanks. The stim forward directly into this tank line, trying to pull back and get his own tank to help out, but it will be shot down as well here. And he doesn't have a lot to come in, but on the flip side, winning a decisive battle. I think maybe he thought everything was pulled too far out of position and attempt to assault that third, but noMADe shutting that down completely. These 3 tanks are still alive, but they've lost kind of all their cloud cover. Here, he could drop directly on them, and that is in fact what he's going to do, as these Marines do jump into that position, causing both some friendly fire and getting too close. Will clean that up. He does, however, lose the starport in doing that and is forced to rebuild it. So for the time being, does not have an active one at all, actually. So that can, I mean, that definitely hurts the production of anything that comes out of there, quite clearly. But the supply lead is now moving kind of relentlessly in noMADe's favor, just little by little at a time. It was a good general maneuver by Alceister to do that. That was a good drop location, but I think he maybe overestimated how much noMADe had pulled out of his other position in order to deal with it. He had only actually sent a fairly small detachment to deal with that, not his whole force, and he ended up losing a lot more maybe than he expected there. Another drop is being attempted. This one is all Marines coming into the main base. There's no turrets really left, but yeah, now going to drop directly on these 2 tanks. However, there is a third, and while 1, 2 go down with some Marine support, this is actually a tough spot to hold here. The entire army of noMADe swing it around another way, and he's kind of in the main still doing stuff, still getting SCVs killed, but we've only got 5 Marines here. Eventually it does have to be dealt with, but that's not his main priority at the moment, as he's assaulting the 3rd base here. Alceister trying to repair that last tank and drive this back, bringing his own bio forward, and now the tank's exposed on noMADe's side of things, trying to close that gap, does clean it up. The medevac's actually all dying here for no really strong reason. One Widow Mine will go off, kill the rest, and that last little part of losing all the medevacs for free really is the big kicker in that, and suddenly we've got just overall supply in a much more relatively even position here. We still get the supply lead in workers for noMADe as well, which means his army may be that little bit much weaker. Main army not in position this time around to fully defend that 3rd base. He's actually pulling out. Now he sees it, will have to go back and stim in to try and take this out. Will get a better concave, does have the tank support, but has not sieged that up. But the medevacs really are going to make a big difference here, as he is able to power through. More Marines coming in for reinforcements, but he lost what if the medevacs had been there to support from the last fight. That one would have been quite decisively in noMADe's favor. Did not have that, however, though, and that ended up being a much more even trade for Alceister, who is now basically gathering a 10 medevac, 2 tank, and a bunch of bio army here to come into a 2 tank unsieged, now a little bit sieged position here. The stim forward again, and this is where again, that's, has he even rebuilt a starport? He had done it and then couldn't, it got canceled. Now coming in, the tanks helping out here a lot, but it may swing back the other way. Tanks from the back for noMADe. More Marines coming in on noMADe's side of things. Will save one of the tanks here. Now getting, the heavy mech killed. Saves one with just 1 hit point left. A sergeant tank with 11 kills. Alceister looking for another position to swing in. This really has been a very strong back and forth game here so far. A 4th base has been established for Alceister. A 4th base is down for noMADe. That one is a planetary. Their tanks coming in, trying to find another position to attack the infrastructure. Nice initial volley from the tanks. SCVs tried to come in to defend this. Doesn't look like that's going to be the attack angle he wants. And with Alceister actually siege up first this time, his army looks a lot stronger. There's way more. He had just unsieged a tank in the back here. Will take it out. Had that still been alive, maybe could have done a lot to that very clumped up bio force. 2 tanks now trying to clear out the rest of Alceister's bio. Do get cleaned up here though, and things have now moved, I think, irreparably in Alceister's favor. noMADe calls it GG, and Alceister does take game number 1. We are back here on Expedition Lost, up here on the top right-hand side, playing a hard-fought game, but ultimately losing the first one. It is our German Terran player in the blue trunks. He is noMADe. And down here, already pulling off something a little bit cheesier, which is not to be unexpected on this map. He is from Dust Gaming, Alceister. Going for the proxy 2 racks here. This one can be quite decisive if this gets out of control. If it's not scouted, this can just win a game in a couple of minutes for him. So we'll have to see how that does end up developing. It definitely can be really, really dangerous. The scout is coming out for noMADe. Whether it will be in time to really do anything about this and sense the need for the right defense here, only time will tell. A Marine actually coming out. I thought he was going to get a Reaper. All right, well, I guess he didn't get gas, so obviously he can't get a Reaper. But yeah, he's going to be doing it with Marines, so it's not going to be proxy Reaper in spot. He's putting a supply depot down for it. So yeah, it's going to be just a straight up Marine attack. A factory coming on noMADE side of things, as he does start a Marine or two. He will get the SCV in and looking around the base. So he's going to be, actually it's not looking around yet. Now there it goes. He'll see that neither gas is taken. So he'll be able to rule out Reapers as well. And he instantly, as soon as he doesn't see the gas, puts down a bunker at the front of his ramp. The Marines, however, are moving out already. They're definitely going to want to target that down if they do get a chance. They will go immediately after that building SCV. There, pulls back his Marines. Actually, probably could have gotten some shots off while they were targeting that down. He is now going to be making his own bunker. SCVs are being pulled off the line here to try and surround, but no, it just unfortunately not being done in the way that was required there. But the bunker does finish for noMADe. It is fairly well damaged. He is pulling back a Hellion, which could clean this up, but he lost a ton of workers in doing this. And the bunker does ultimately burn down. The Hellion coming in for a repair will fry one of those Marines here. Single Hellion is really all he's got. And second one coming out to join it. The first one will be repaired on up. Going after the bunker here now that can be canceled. And we're going to have the end of Alceister's attack here as he continues to just produce out of these barracks instead of immediately sending them back. Calling shit, but he killed a lot of workers, and I don't know if he knows what the count is. We're currently at 8 to 16, but unfortunately, the way that was attacked, noMADe pulled away from the bunker that was under construction, whereas he could have been firing that entire time, knowing that they would either target down the SCV that was building or try and target down the Marines, in which case the bunker would have finished. So noMADe now putting that bunker up. A scouting barracks coming in for Alceister to see what the follow-up is, which is actually kind of cute, as he now tries to take his own gas and go into, while he's not even going into a higher level attack, he's just continuing on with the barracks. At this point, SCVs will eventually reaccumulate for noMADe. He's obviously got the advantage in the gas that he has been mining. He's still got one SCV mining in that area. Often you'll see Terran follow up with something right away like Banshee, something right away like a tank push, in order to punish this sort of thing, knowing that your opponent won't have that level of tech yet. It looks like he's going into a medevac here, and given that he's got some Hellions, that could potentially do some damage if he does get them in to attack SCVs and at least get counter damage done on his side. You can also go into Widowmine, again knowing your opponent doesn't really want to waste scans on things as they're kind of trying to recover what they're doing. But given how many workers were killed on noMADE's side of the map, oh, he's picking up Marines and not the Hellions. The Hellions instead are actually going to be running behind this. And I guess he's going for a little bit more of a potentially frontal assault, or maybe elevatoring everything in to that base. The barracks, which is floating along, has probably seen that. He's going to come in and see that there is no natural on Alceister's side of things. The Marines coming in close enough to find a bunker up top and see a good number of Marines, and he may think twice about the whole composition of this attack, or he may just try for a quick drop in the back here, which is what he's going to do. He'll eventually have to pick up here, but with a little bit of Hellion support from the low ground, he could actually do some damage, particularly again with the medevac to support here. The healing can definitely play in his favor. Yeah, he'll pull back again, letting the Hellions are actually putting in a large amount of work as he keeps letting the Marines kind of come into that position. A lot of them are quite low. Could have potentially got the SCV. Oh, now with the bunker there, wants to get away from that. Has to be a little careful with the medevac at this point. Still trying to use that high ground vision to get some damage done, but not a whole ton of kills to be had there. He may, however, be able to secure and hold the natural long enough that he can deny that from actually going down. Hellion's now doing a lot of work on these Marines here. Do ultimately get cleaned up, but this is some fairly decent trading on noMADE side of things. And he will back out with the medevac still just barely alive, but nothing else really. And we're kind of gonna normalize from here a bit. I think that attack caused Alceister maybe to stop SCV production a bit, and we're back up to 26 to 22 at this point as Alceister does get to land his orbital. The orbital on noMADE side is complete as well, and mining is underway there. He's got a single Marine. Does he see that yet? Yeah, he does see the one supply depot on the other side. It's not that important. It wouldn't supply block him or anything, but he could still kill it and just kind of be annoying. noMADE salvaging his bunker. One is still up for Alceister on his side of the map as he moves the army down to secure that natural base. The thing missing out of him, I guess, is any tanks at the moment, as there are 2 out on noMADE side of things, whereas it's just a slightly superior Marine count for Alceister. Upgrades, however, perhaps surprisingly in Alceister's favor, given that noMADE had the much earlier gases and so on. The stim is already done for Alceister, whereas it's really just underway for his opponent, and 1-1 is going to be done before it looks like 1-1 is even going to be started on noMADE side of things. And for TBT, that really is just a huge deal. Medevac there, I think, sensing that the ice was being destroyed, looking for a good place to drop it. Right now, to be honest, there just isn't one that he can really find here. Interesting that noMADE would even take the rocks down. I guess he's thinking of taking that as his third base. Alceister is picking up for what looks like a very large drop, 3 medevac drop coming in. These are all Marines, as I said before, so definitely vulnerable to things like tanks if they are in the right position at the right time. And noMADE actually repositioning his to try and find a good spot, trying to find a nice nestled location here. The medevacs coming over to the right hand side of the map. If they overcommit though, noMADE's force is like in the perfect spot, and I think it just almost happens to be there because he killed the rocks, but that's where he is assembling. Not sure what Alceister is going to do at the moment. He's rallying some more forces up from his natural as well that could be looking to do some sort of 2-pronged attack. Unfortunately, he's moving his Marines down to attempt to secure that third base location. The thing, though, is without tanks to support the drop, there's not really like any disincentive to just rushing it when it drops. Like there's no siege position that's gonna prevent you or dissuade you from just attacking into it. Stim forward here. Oh, just you couldn't have possibly designed a worse position, unfortunately, for noMADE to attack into that, and that is just disastrous. He outnumbered him. It was just the fact that he didn't have anything with him, and now the drop will come in. This drop will now be completely deadly, as yeah, just in that one motion, noMADE tossed the game away. Unfortunately, he didn't know that. There's no way for him to know that, but unfortunately did, and it is GG. Alceister going up 2-0 in that series. He made no hesitation in moving in for that final kill once he saw that engagement. Hello, we are back here for game number 3 of this best of 5. We have one player up 2-0 at the moment, and he is this fine fella down here on the bottom middle of the map. He is our red Terran player from Dust Gaming. It is Alceister. Yay. And his opponent trying to claw his way back into things. The games have been definitely a lot closer than the 2-0 score. It is our Teal Terran player. He is noMADe. And I think we've had 2 games, particularly the last one, kind of come down to noMADE walking into a surround or just a really disadvantageous position, although that one certainly could be said to have been affected much earlier by the fairly effective cheese that Alceister had, killing almost all the workers of noMADE. But in the first game as well on Overgrowth, there was a period where noMADE had walked in with a very sizable portion of his army and 3 tanks into what ended up being a huge flank from Alceister. So if he can avoid that sort of thing, there are definitely periods in these games where he has been ahead and just not able to close it out in terms of army positioning and making the right engagement decisions at the right time. Alceister has undoubtedly been the aggressive one throughout this series so far here. He's been the one initiating drops, initiating most of the attacks. He's been the one kind of dictating what positions fights were going to take place in, and that has definitely worked out for him so far here. We've got noMADE going for a faster command center than we've seen in the previous 2 games, which may work out. The mule being strategically pulled off so it wouldn't die with minerals, I think, was the purpose of that. Little bit of a supply block here on noMADE, actually more than a little. It's going to be an entire supply depot's worth of a supply block here. Unfortunate.
Game paused.
And we've got a pause here. I don't know what's up. Oh, okay. Just a little thing. Yeah, we do have a rule that we want people, yeah, set to busy. Okay. Cool. I don't have it on this list. Bloop. Did I just lose Saber on Skype? Are you still there? No, you're still there. No, nothing. I heard the Skype like failure notification, but I think we're still here. So okay, we're good. And so just a little clerical thing that is obviously important. And whatever. Wait, what? All right, we'll see. Maybe he's not. Maybe he thinks he is. Okay. Double checking to make sure he is. And going on. We are kind of going without much of a stream delay, so it is important that we do that there as well. There's still a bit of one. I think it's about a minute or so, but still always good to make sure that is going on. Alceister has buildings kind of interestingly positioned. It's almost like anti-drop positionings here for Alceister, as he does have the starport and factory out. He's actually hiding an armory down on the natural. This may almost be a little bit of an anti-scouting positioning as well. noMADE, of course, does have his... There's a pretty big money scan catching all those things, but not seeing the armory off to the side. And it's going to be a Thor that is being built here, which I kind of figured once I saw the armory. And it looks like we're going to be going into some sort of Thor drops and see what type of damage this can get done. The Marines will be moving out. This is an interesting one in that it is an interesting map to do it on. You could launch some sort of two-pronged attack, but one of those attacks is going to have to be up the main ramp, which is actually fairly difficult. But what could work really strongly in Alceister's favor, as he does bring the Thor on in, is that this is a Hellion-based army that is coming. He is going to see this. He will engage with the Hellions, see the Thor as it comes down. Will pull the Hellions back, but Hellions obviously not that great against a Thor. A siege tank will come. He actually opts to siege that here as the medevac coming on in. Marines trying to go after the the medevac here so that it can't be picked up. Vikings coming out. The Thor is going to go down here, but at the loss of a few more workers than it had to be for sure. Without the tank out anymore, a lot more workers are going to end up dying in this before they are cleaned up. A few more going down here as it does go. However, workers being pulled on Alceister's side as well, as he obviously wanted to help repair that Thor, but 10 have been killed there by Alceister. However, with the expansion already down and done and just starting for Alceister, that does make a large difference. A Thor now coming with the SCV support, but without the Marine support here is a pretty big deal. A tank is going to be coming out of this factory. He's going to want to keep this one unsieged, obviously, as it does a fair bit more DPS. But just with the single Thor, it's going to be a matter of kind of accumulating up a little bit and then attacking the Thor all at once instead of coming in piecemeal. He's going to want to get the Viking to land here. They're not great, obviously, against the Thor, unfortunately, but they will clean it up. And now SCV is being killed on the flip side of things, and Alceister's attack has been kind of set back for the time being here. In terms of overall worker count, this is still in noMADE's favor. He obviously did get the expansion down a lot quicker, so even after the loss of the 10 SCVs, does have the advantage in that. Hellion is getting picked off as another Thor comes in, but without the Marine support, this really isn't as big a deal. The single Thor is not going to do an effective enough amount of damage to push into noMADE's base here. The first two have certainly done a fair bit, but probably not enough to take any sort of like decisive position here. Second one is coming on its way, and there is a point at which these become hard to deal with, but that point is still a little bit away. Looks like he's going to medevac forward. I think this just may be to increase the speed it takes to actually get there more than anything. I don't know, he actually is going to be dropping, but Vikings out make this pretty dangerous. He saw it, obviously, and is now going to Viking just kill that medevac, landing on top of the Thor with these Vikings. Maybe not the best just because they kind of suck, but will eventually clean it up. Here as the unsieged tank coming in, now taking advantage of a little bit of a lack of control. Will a Thor go down to an SCV? It will not. 10 kills on that one, and actually he's kind of handled that very, very poorly, to be honest. He's not making any more tanks. noMADE has so much money and he is not spending any of it. I'm not sure what's going on here. His factory is not building anything. He's got one Thor doing tons of damage with 8 hit points. 2 Marines will now clear that one up. 2 Marines trying to attack the other, but there's just not... Like, if SCVs had come with it, the game would be over now. I don't know how noMADE, like... It almost looks like his, like, keyboard disconnected to the point that he's not making anything. He had enough to be making tanks the entire time, or any sort of defense the entire time, and he's not actually going ahead to do that. Instead, coming in with literally individual Marines to just be killed by the Thor that has 29 kills on it now. This is... I don't even really know what to say. He tried for some drop on the other end, and he got a lot done with that. He forced the pickup of the orbital, but this Thor just took forever to die. I don't feel that it had to be that long. He's got still had tons of money throughout the entire thing. But anyway, he has stabilized at least here, but he could be... It's a little disappointing, I guess, just in the sense that noMADE could be so far ahead, and then he let kind of like the dying gasp of those 2 Thors do so much damage. Like 2 Thors that had less than 30 hit points each killed like 16 things. So that's not the best to see, but it happens, and he will now try and recover from that position. Still getting a sizable army up. A lot of his investment earlier was just getting masses of production out. Yeah. it really is. Someone messaging me in the middle mentioning that he loves Marines versus Gundams, which is what he is convinced Thors are. A third base has been taken by noMADe. He had worked on the command center a while ago and can now safely land that. He may still want to focus a little more towards getting his mech out in large enough numbers, but now that he does have Marauders in, he's got combat shields out, which helps a little bit. And it's going to be a tank follow-up by Alceister, as he is now bringing an army in there. I'm not sure if he's coming close enough to be spotted by that single Marine. A drop up in the natural of noMADe here is going to be moving in. There's some Marines in position to spot this. I don't know if he's really paying attention, though. They get their first shelling and will have to back away from this. Tank's not in position. Will actually go all the way up the ramp, and it's just it's these positionings by noMADe that are just horrible. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but he's now basically lost all 3 games because of a single bad engagements. The engagements have been bad. It's not his macro, it's not his, well, a little bit in this game it was, but it's not generally his macro or what he's making or composition. It's not paying attention to huge portions of his army or being in a really bad, indefensible position. And he kind of was just there as well. So Alceister now with his tanks in a really good spot, pulling SCVs off, being really indecisive with the Marines that are coming, and now just sacrificing all of this. And Alceister does take that one 3-0.